Okay.
Was it not visible for you yesterday and it is visible today? Someone who just responded?
Yes, sir. Yes. Yesterday it was
Yeah,
not visible.
yeah.
Now it is visible, sir.
It is
Okay,
visible.
fine.
Very
Okay.
good.
Okay, so that's fine.
So I formally welcome you, sir. I will call the session coordinator of this session to introduce the speaker. Then we will start with the session.
Sure.
Are you there? No problem, sir. So, dear participants, I welcome you all in this last day of this AICTE ATAL FDP on design thinking. And we have today with us Dr. Madhukar from IBM. I welcome him again for another session on design thinking principles. And he will be talking about the course which is being offered by IBM Skill Build platform. He will be helping you to enroll the course, to join the course, and to learn and earn the badge of design thinking learners badge. So I welcome you all again. I welcome Manish sir also to deliver his lecture. Now it is over to you, sir. You can start sharing the screen
Sure,
and start with the session, sir.
sure, Suyash. Thank you.
Sir, I request
So
you to
guys,
kindly, sir. Yes, sir.
tell me.
Sir, I request you to kindly quickly recap whatever we have discussed yesterday because there was a
Yeah,
problem in screen sharing.
yeah,
So
yeah.
we can,
I'll actually start from scratch, Suyash, and I
right,
will
sir.
try
Right.
to do a quick, try to bring everybody on the same page, right? I'll try to do
Right,
that.
sir. Right, right. I have shared the course enrollment and the IBM Skill Build link with the participants also. So I guess
Okay.
most of them have already registered by their email ID. So we can
Okay,
start
wonderful.
with that page.
Sure, sure. So yeah,
Right, sir.
thanks, Suyash. So
Thank you.
guys, let's quickly ramp up about, we had some distance to cover. So yesterday I was talking to you about, right, besides what you are doing as part of this ATAL FDP, and you'll of course be getting a certificate for the same. How about also, adding a badge to your learning, right? And I'm sure you are all familiar with digital badges, what the digital badges means, right? Okay, so I'm going to quickly show you, right, a snapshot of my digital badges, right? Now, why do you think I can be, or somebody can be the right person to talk about a certain technology? How do you know that, right? So you can assure yourself that, by trying to understand the capabilities of the other person, right? So how do you see that? So for example, I started my journey into design thinking way back in 2016. You see this, right? I got a badge in 2016, right? And since then I have been working with a few companies around design thinking, a few sessions around design thinking, right? And if you see, right, this is my latest thing, right? This is something I got a badge today morning about something on a technology zone thing. So my point is, learning is of course important. At the same time, you also need to have you know badges around the learning so that people can get to know about what technology areas have you been into, and there should be an independent way to validate that, right? So if you actually go through my profile, you'll be able to see all these digital badges that I would have accumulated over last so many years, right? Different technologies, blockchain, AI, cybersecurity, data science, all those things. So today, rather yesterday, I basically wanted you to start with a course which is this IBM a course on design thinking. It's an enterprise design thinking practitioner badge that you will earn after that, right? And for doing that, I had shared a link with you. Once you would have registered using your Gmail and all, or Ada ID, then you would have actually received, come over here, okay, on this page. Now, these badges are given on a third party, which is Credly. So you need to have an account with Credly. So that's the video for that. And once you complete the course, you will automatically get your badge reflected there. So this is all is like you will all be able to do. This is the course that we are talking about, right? So though it's like a 3-hour course, but then, we covered some bit of it yesterday, but then we'll try to again cover some part of it. And even after this session today with you, you can always go and do it on your own because it's a self-learning course, right? So once you are on the link, once you basically click on this course, Enterprise Design Thinking Practitioner course, it opens up into a new tab and this is where you are, right? And here you need to actually go and click on go to activity, right? The moment you click on go to activity, again, it opens up into new window, right? In a new tab. And that's where the course content actually loads for you, right? The course is pretty structured, very structured course. I'm sure you'll really cherish the way it happens, right? It records itself, right? See, I'll click on continue. It tracks automatically the course contents that you see. So what I would recommend is please sign in. Those of you already registered, please sign in into this course. And as we will talk about the various topics, you will able to also complete the course alongside that, right? And just to put a perspective to it, now the badge looks something like this, right? So this is the badge that you will be getting. Earlier, the batch was a different one. It was, yeah, this was the design,
Nine,
right?
nine. Yeah, it's also nine. Nine.
Okay, so this was the design earlier. Now, the one that you'll be getting is basically this one. Okay, so let's get us started with this. So what I'll do is I'll quickly run you through the introductory topics of it, just to understand. And if you remember yesterday, I was asking you to do a small exercise about what is design thinking, how design thinking can actually become a de facto standard for problem solving, right? Um, and the reason why we use design thinking is basically to create or to basically curate a kind of a experience for the end user, and to make the experience better to what he is currently having. That's the end goal, right? So at all times, the focus for us is the user for whom we are doing the program, right? For example, for you, the end user can be a student, right? And again, I'll try to get you through this journey, try to just faster expedite it because we already had a conversation yesterday about, right? How about having a coffee, right? But then is it just about having a coffee or it's about the experience of having a coffee? So if you see people go to, cafe coffee day, people go to, baristas of the world, right? Starbucks of the world. Why? Because it's more than just the coffee. It's all about that experience of having a coffee, right? So that experience is more than anything. It's more than any product or more than any service, right? So what we are looking as a design thinking or a design thinker is to curate that experience. Okay. So let's quickly skim through a few concepts. I'll not do this today. We already discussed it about yesterday. This is what I was actually trying to explain to you, that take a blank paper and a pencil and, and design a vase. So when you design a vase, everybody has a different idea about a vase, right? And that's one I thought you are able to see me, but then most of you are not able to see me. And this is what I was actually asking you to upload your design documents. But nevertheless, uh, if the same question is changed in a different manner, saying that how would you like to visualize flowers at your home, for example, right? So the same, so this is what is the prompt that you were discussing in the previous session when I joined yesterday. So you are asking the same question, but in a different manner, in a different perspective, right? So again, see this entire idea of leveraging or having or cherishing flowers can be different for different people, right? Somebody can it be, somebody has it in a vase, somebody is hanging it over the window, right? Somebody is putting it on the couch, right? Or besides the couch on the coffee table. So different people have different ways of doing it, right? So idea is again, it was not about the vase or, it is about the journey, it was about that thing that how do you conceive a particular experience, right? That was the thing that we were talking about. I'm sort of, walking you through that program again. This is what we covered about it, right? So design thinking is all about how do you improve the current experience of the people that you are looking to serve, right? That's the users, right? That's what I've been again reiterating. But then to do that, you have to go through this entire journey, right? What is this journey and what are the uh, how do you communicate in this journey? We'll typically go through that, right? I'll quickly go to the design thinking framework, which basically talks about the language of design thinking. I'm sure you've already covered it by, it's been done by multiple resource persons in the last 3, 4 days. I'll just quickly take you through what I was talking to you about yesterday, right? One was about the principle. This one is about the focus on user outcomes. Two was this entire restless reinvention curve, right, that we were talking about. And three is having diverse, empowered teams. We'll see that in a bit of detail, right? This is the loop that I was talking to you about. Observe, reflect, and make, right? What observe means, what is the current state? How is the user currently engaging with the solution, right? Reflect means what is that you are looking to, incorporate as a change, trying to make it in a better way. And then you get the feedback from the user, again incorporate that feedback. So it's an iterative cycle, right? Reflect. And make is, where do you want to take this experience to? So this is what is currently observed and what do you want to sort of give it to him, right? Make, right? So that's the loop all about. And then in this journey of this loop, you basically have these keys, right? The hills, playbacks, and the sponsor users. So we'll see these in a bit again. So if you remember yesterday, I was talking to you about saying that, right? Ultimately, the business is basically, the aim of business is to help the users achieve their goals, right? And it starts with the requirements of the end user. It's never about the solution, right? So most of us, when we are coding or we are developing something, we start to jump on the solution bit. That's the last thing one should actually look for. So the research should be about what are we supposed to, how are we looking to help the people with this solution. So the needs, the requirements of the people is what is important, right? Second is, by treating everything as a prototype, right? How do you actually revisit and keep revisiting the journey, the idea, the solution, so that you improve it over a period of time, right? And third is, how do you basically bring everybody together to get all the different perspectives in the system, right? Okay. And this was the loop about, right? It was more about, what is the current design? Uh, how do you do that? You basically observe the users, you interview them, right? You basically test your ideas in some way, right? And then whatever you have done, you basically synthesize it and you share it with the users, and let users come back with their experience so that you can fine tune this approach. And finally, it's about giving that abstract thing some concrete form, right? So that's basically.
मेरे 26 जी.
Okay. So this is all about the, the hills, playbacks, and the sponsor user we were talking about yesterday. If you remember, I was talking about 5 Ws, right? Asking question why again and again and again. So we'll come to that as well. But then before that, hills is typically, who are your users, right? Two, what the users will be able to do with that, right? And wow is, how do you differentiate what it was there earlier versus what do you plan to do, right? So who, what, and wow are the three, factors that basically, which are nothing but the statement of intents. These hills are basically statements of intents, and they follow a format of who, what, and wow. Okay, three components in any hill. Next is playbacks, right? So once you have a storyline, right? Once you have basically a storyline, how do you, sort of take that and you exchange it? And finally, you need people, you have to invite people who are part of the system in any form, right? It can be external clients, it can be future clients, it can be end users, right? If you recall, yesterday we were talking about a use case of an airline, right? So today again we'll take that example and you know we'll go more into it, right? Okay. So those of you who already signed in on the course, please skim through the course as I'm talking to you about certain topics, right? And yeah. So typically in organizational setup, right, this is how I'm sure you also would do a meetings, right? But in a design thinking, this is a very different setup. In a design thinking, we actually we rather make people to collaborate. We make people to have a meaningful, uh, you know, activities, right? So that they're able to be a part of this entire process. And if we ever do a design thinking workshop in a physical mode, we'll be doing it something like this. We'll be having a whiteboard, these stickies where, you'll be talking about how do you configure these hills, and, this entire journey that we have been talking about, right? So enterprise design thinking is basically a mindset, guys, right? And it's basically, we'll talk about a few tools on the way, but uh, idea is how do you really make somebody's life easier, simpler by using the approach of design thinking. And that somebody can be as somebody as your student, right, in a classroom, right? Okay, so there are a couple of these examples that you can always come back and they can see this course on your own as well. But we'll just go to this example of, having this. So here is a problem that we are looking to solve today, right? A particular airlines, Windsor Airlines, has this consistent problem of flight delays in the airlines, which is leading to financial performance, a negative financial performance of the company, right? Now, the question for us to solve is how can we ensure that, this particular airline's flights actually leave on time? Now, if you remember about our conversation yesterday, I was actually talking to you about how do we analyze that what is really causing the delays, right? And how can you actually design a solution which can help or, enhance the experience of the passengers. And in turn, it will automatically bring the airlines, on time. It will bring the, address the issue that we are solving. So let's try and, use the same approach that we just discussed, right? So one is when you start a journey, there can be two things, right? What do you expect out of that journey? Those are those hopes. And, there may be a fear of, if I do this, what all can happen, right? So that's basically all about this, right? What are the hopes and what are the fears, right? So in this example, for example, whether design thinking will work for my team, whether I'll be able to use design thinking in a real world solution, right? And I really hope to basically get so these are like hopes, right? And then there is a set of fears. Of course, when you start something, whether I'll be able to do it successfully, right? And then will I be able to ever use design thinking for in my work? If not, then why am I even studying it, right? Or maybe this won't apply to me. So the point is, design thinking is something which can be, made use by anybody and everybody. Remember yesterday I was talking to you about SWOT, right? So we'll see how, right? So let's go further with that, with the focus on the user outcomes, right? Okay. So I'm actually skimming through the course quickly because I want to cover the ground which we lost yesterday. And at the same time, I know you have access to this course, so you can always come back and revisit it, right? But then let's go through and try to get into the, so the focus is typically on user outcomes, right? And what it helps doing is putting your users at the center of everything. Whatever we are doing it for our users, how to make their lives easier. For example, everything that you do, everything is revolving around the student, the learner, right? How do you basically solve or how do you make the learning more inclusive, more interactive, so that the learning becomes more permanent for your end user, right? So, and then so these are a couple of things we really need to ask ourselves. One, who are our users? Then what is their current experience and how this can be improved? And by the way, this is a question which we should be asking ourselves each year. I had been a teacher myself, so I completely, understand that the students today aren't same as the students who were there a few years earlier. 5 years, 2 years, 3 years back, the students were of different kinds. 10 years back, the students were absolutely different kind, right? So based upon how the generations have evolved, our user persona will keep evolving. And similarly, what is their current experience? Today, their users or students are so much familiar with, likes of Chat GPT, Perplexity, so many things. That wasn't the case 5 years back, right? So for them, the current experience would have been different. And today, when you have to gauge the improvement, you basically will gauge the improvement from their current experience, right? Which will be absolutely different for what you would have planned 5 years back, right? So all of these basically help you understand in terms of your user understanding. And then it basically creates an ideal future for what you're looking to develop, right? Uh, okay. So let's go further, right? So let's say, if there are multiple people in a particular, organization, each one perceive the objective differently. So from a manager's point of view, it can be important to align the team's goals, metrics, and workflows, at the same time, outcome should be user derivatives, whatever the user wants. But from a team member's perspective, it can be absolutely different how they actually are playing in the environment. And for all other people, it is important that how the solution or the principles of human-centric design are basically used, right? Okay, so let's go further into it. Now we know that there is a business problem to be solved, right? Every now and then you would be solving some or the other issue. But every problem has some constraints as well. If you remember yesterday, I was taking an example. Let's say, I'll reiterate that again. So let's say you are looking to teach analytics to your students, right? So your goal is to make your students analytics, export with analytics, right? Or their learning has to be, enhanced using analytics, for example, right? That's what the objective is. Having said that, there may always be some roadblocks, some barriers to what you want to achieve, right? And honestly, there will always be, there will be something. There will be some either a constraint of time, or maybe software, or maybe tools, or maybe sometimes people, right? It can be anything. And then the third thing is what is actually the requirement of the end user, right? So despite all of this, there will be some intersection of all of these, which will lead to a successful outcome, which supports both the business goal, which is feasible to build, and actually it meets the user needs, right? So what you have to find is that intersection of all of these things, which can lead to, so design thinking typically helps us in finding that. I'm not sure if you are aware about, but then there is something called as a MVP. Normally, when we envisage a bigger organization level solution, we don't start with anything and everything, right? So the design thinking process actually helps us bringing all the stakeholders together. What are those stakeholders? Various users from different department, right? The sponsor user, right? The prospective users, we bring them all across the table, and with them we do a design thinking workshop, so that what we can do is we can identify a MVP, a minimal viable product. So instead of working on the entire project at the same time, what we try to do is we try to identify that smallest component, which if can be done successfully, will ensure that the product will be able to complete the product, will be able to make the product, right? So we identify the most crucial part of the entire solution through this process of design thinking. That's what is uncovering the problem, right? And that's what we define as something called as a minimal viable product, right? To start creating the solution around. Okay. Now, in this airline situation, we already understand that this is the problem statement, right? Now, this problem is not easy. There may be multiple, users in this entire journey, right, who would be impacted. Now, this is where we are talking about those 5 Ws, right? We need to define or analyze a problem in more detail to understand the intent behind an idea, right? Again, this intent is the business, isn't it? So let's quickly try to understand what are those root causes. How do we discover those root causes of while we are trying to solve a particular problem? Okay. So let's try to do this. So we know this is the business problem. This is very clear to us now, right? Second thing is, okay, if this is the business problem, why is this happening? Why are the flights not departing on time? Okay. Let's ask another why. Because on average, the gate for the flight should be locked 10 minutes prior the scheduled departure of the flight, right? So that means another why. So why is the gate not getting locked within 10 minutes of the departure? Okay. Because the dispatchers do not have the passenger data. Unless they give the passenger data to the crew inside the flight will not be able to take off, right? Okay. If that is the case, then why the dispatchers do not have the passenger data beforehand? Because until last minute, it is not clear who is on the final passenger list. There may be a few people, so, okay, why is this passenger list not final till the last moment? because there might be some changes at the gate, right? Some last minute passenger changes. Some passenger doesn't turn up. Some passenger turned up at the airport, but then they are late in reporting to the gates, right? So, okay, this is another why. So the important point is, uh, for the consistent thing, we actually need to uh, understand the problem after these 5 whys. So whenever you come across a problem, try to get this theory of 5 whys. Keep asking the why at least 5 times to understand, to get into the underneath the problem. Okay. So let's try to understand over here. Okay. So you see this, there may be people coming at the gate and trying to, I'm sure everybody has this experience of boarding flights, right? If the process is too much manual, it will take a longer time compared to if a process is more automated. For example, we all use digital, Digi Yatra these days, right? We have all these digital boarding passes. If you go abroad, like, places like Frankfurt and all, you'll find the gates are absolutely automated, right? You'll find the journey from your terminal, from the terminal to the craft will be, very seamless, right? So it is all about this concept of moving from as is, which is the current state, to what you want it to be. So that's basically what you are looking to improve. What is today as is to what you want it to be. So that's a to be thing, right? Okay, now the thing is, okay, in this process, there are multiple people involved. There are multiple stakeholders involved. Unless you understand what each stakeholder is doing, what's their job, what is the challenge that they're facing, you will not be able to actually, identify the root cause of the problem. So what do? You basically try to identify what these people are doing, what the gate agents are doing, what these dispatchers are doing, how the crew is actually, closing on the gates, so of the plane. So you need to basically jot down all of these things. And so this is something to do with the empathy as well, right? You need to understand what the people are doing, what is the importance of the task that they are doing, and where are they, which is the part which is having a gap, right? And when you do this, you basically also work with sponsor users than just only the focused users, because you need a buy-in, you need an executive buy-in as well about what you are planning to change, right? See, sponsor users are a critical, person in helping teams connect directly with direct users and actually begin the project. Now, unless you are bringing the sponsored users on the table, you may have a great solution, but then you will not be able to implement that solution, right? Okay, so let's try to go on further, right? So whenever you create a solution, there is certain assumptions to that, right? Whenever you solve I'm sure whenever we're doing all these derivations and all, before doing a derivation, there is always some assumption that you have, assume A, B, C, D, assume the values would be this, assume this would be this, environment for you to execute the experiment. So those assumptions are really important, right? Similarly, let's try to understand, right? Uh, what would be the certain level of assumptions for each user that we are trying to do, right? Once you make these assumptions about each user, you will be able to define the boundaries about, what are the challenges. You'll be able to identify those challenges, right? That the particular user is facing. And once those challenges are documented, it will basically give you a bigger picture, a clear picture of things. So if you remember yesterday, I was talking to you about a SWOT analysis. Now, how many of you in this, session actually do use SWOT analysis? You can put a yes or a no on a chat. I'm just monitoring the chat there. How many of you actually use SWOT analysis? For those who may not know, SWOT is basically strengths, opportunities, strength, weakness, opportunity, and threats. Anybody uses SWOT analysis? Let's say you have a new job, you have got a new opportunity, right? Now, before you actually say a yes or a no, do you do a SWOT analysis? Somebody has got a job out of India, right? It looks very promising. But then have you actually done a SWOT analysis before you make a call whether it's a right decision to make? Anybody on the call, yes or a no? Please put a yes or a no on the chat. Doesn't matter if you haven't, right? It helps me understand, should I explain this or should I go beyond this? Wonderful. I see at least a yes there. Any more people who use SWOT analysis? Great. So yes, that's a great way to actually arrive at conclusion. Why? And doing it is very easy, by the way, guys. You can always, pick a blank paper, make two folds on the blank paper so that it becomes four quadrants. You have four, different places in the same paper. Right on one quadrant is strengths, another as weakness, third is opportunity, and the other is threats. And then let's say you have got a new job offer. Try to visualize what is, what each of the quadrant will be like. What is the strength if you accept that? What will be the weaknesses if you go there? What will be the opportunities and what's the threats, right? This will help you actually make a very, very informed decision. And if you're having multiple opportunities, do the SWOT for these multiple things. Have these 3, 4 papers and, do it like that. And when you put those 3 papers in front of you, you'll really find that very, very eye opening, because that will give you a very crisp, clear view about what is beneficial for you, what has better potential for you, and it will be able to give you a qualitative analysis of these possible opportunities for you. Okay, so let's go further with this piece that we are talking about. So similarly, we basically do that kind of things, right, in this as well, to try to get into the root cause of the problem, getting to understand our users, right? I'm skimming through this course, guys. You can always come back and you can always, see this course in detail. There are a lot of videos available, to do this. Okay. So the core of design thinking is something which revolves around the users, right? Um, yeah, so the design thinking research is very easy, right? All you have to do is try to hear the people who are involved, try to hear the stakeholders who are involved in the process, right? What is that they currently do? What is that they face challenges with? Once you go through this entire thing, you will be able to understand, you know, uh, where was this gap? For example, uh, you know, before somebody actually prepares the plane, right? Once people start to board, you will find a few people coming and saying they need a water, or they would need a blanket, or they would need something, right? So when a steward or a flight attendant is actually walking to the people, right, that's basically taking some time, taking some effort of their, they are supposed to do some, there is a, as I said, they need to get the list from the dispatchers, they need to make some entries into the system, right? And before flying, they have some processes to complete, right? So all of this, takes some time, right? And yeah, so we'll just go scroll past this. You can always come back and revisit this. But important is those observations that make while you are talking to these stakeholders, trying to identify what their pain points are. See this? What pain points do we observe based upon these experiences from these people? That's what we have to identify, right? Okay. Now, yeah, once we have to do this, um, see, it's always very challenging to understand the other person's experience. Sometimes, we will be able to see that, but then we do not appreciate that because we are not doing it ourselves. So that's where the empathy kings in, guys, right? You need to have a empathy to the users, that, so empathy is typically nothing but the understanding or being aware about the sensitivity of the other person, right? Who is on the other side of the table. Okay. And that's why it's important to have empathy when you are trying to figure this out. Okay. So these are a couple of examples, couple of things that we can always come back, and then there will be some questions at the end of the every module over here. Now, how many of you are actually completing this course along with me? Can you please put a yes or a no on the chat? How many of you are actually signed in and actually doing it? Just a yes will help me understand that we are all doing it together. Put a yes or a no on the chat, guys. Okay. Anybody doing it? Anybody actually accessing this course as we are talking? Okay, I see one yes at least. Okay, anybody else? Okay, so those of you who are not doing it on, please try to sign in and try to complete it. Because what will happen is by the time we are able to complete this course, you actually would, it's not just registration. You should actually open the course and try to, complete as we are talking. So that will help us complete this course within this time frame, maybe, so that you are able to, and if there are any problems, I can still, help you navigate through it. Uh, Satish, you can complete it even later. But then if you browse it along with me, it will help you scroll through the course, try to understand the structure of the course. Okay, so let me get going with what I was, right? So every module actually has a kind of a quiz alongside this, right? And by the way, this quiz can be taken multiple times, just to let you know, right? Idea is to, make you, get this thing correct, right? So we just talked about this, right? Our product team is redesigning a mobile banking app, right? So what they do, they basically start by interviewing people who use the app frequently, isn't it? That's what we said, right? What are the people's pain points? What are the challenges that they are experiencing, right? And how do they complete the tasks on the app, right? And based upon that, the team basically changes its goals. It is important that we pivot from what we were trying to do earlier, because our objectives has to be aligned with the end user's requirement, right? So what is this team doing? This team is typically doing a design research to understand to the user needs, right? So let me just submit this, right? So it says it's a correct answer. The team is directly trying to learn it from the users, right? Let's take another example. Why is observing users an important part of design research, right? Because as I said earlier, right, it basically helps build empathy for the users, right? It basically helps you understand what the user is typically going through, right? And we can always come back and see, yeah, see, this is the correct answer, because unless you understand the real world experience, you will never be able to design a solution for them because you don't understand this, right? Okay, this is important, right? And this is something you can always practice in your daily life as well, right? Why I should be doing it. Okay, from the answer again the next why, and so on and so forth, right? uh okay, so it helps generate ideas for features that align with the stakeholders requests. It helps reframe business challenges from the user perspectives. It uncovers deeper user needs that contribute to the business problem. It reveals assumptions that might need to be explored further. So it's not nothing to do with the assumptions, I think. Yeah. So basically, okay. So let's again see, right? You can always take this again, right? Yeah. And okay, so it basically helps us assume things in a better manner as well. So our team is designing a new feature, but it requires tool that the company doesn't currently supports. So this is nothing but a technical constraint, isn't it? So we can always say, there can be, we discussed about that Venn diagram a while back, right? Okay. Which of the following are essential elements that contribute to a successful outcome of that for an organization, right? So, so you remember that, the user needs, the technical constraints, and the business objectives. These three were actually the three components that we were talking in that Venn diagram, right? So you can quickly do this like, so easily. Okay. And you can go move on to the next one. So important is, right, we come on to this restless reinvention part, because this is what we have been continuously telling, that building a prototype and then, reinventing the journey, getting the feedback, again, including that, into our system. So that's really important, right? Okay. Yeah, this is really important. I'm sure, you would appreciate this. I'm sure most of you actually buy things from Amazon or Flipkart or Zomato, right? We often do this. Now, you might have noticed many a time the interface changes, right? Or the design or the theme of the app changes, sometime based upon some festival around the corner, right? When there is a Diwali or when there is a Holi, right? You will see Zomato having some kind of a interface changed, right? Or if you talk about Flipkart or Amazon, when there is a, the big sales, big billion days sales, or Black Friday sales, we'll see a different kind of. So point is, how quick are we to update ourselves, in terms of, these expectations, right? Now, uh, quick and continuous improvement used to be a luxury back, which is not today. Today, people want to see constant updates and evolving experiences. Now, why I'm saying so is try to, reconnect the same philosophy with your academic system. When you were studying some 10 years back, 20 years back, the curriculum changes were not very rampant. Once in 10, 15 years, once there'll be a curriculum revision happening, maybe once in a 10 or 15 years, that will happen. But today, I'm sure most of you would already be part of your department's BOS or, other committees that you form. Almost on a yearly basis, you update your curriculum, right? Why? Because it's really important from the end user's point of view. You really need to give the journey, the experience to the user, which is relevant to the time today, not what was there 5 years earlier, right? So, so that's what embracing a mindset of continuous improvement, ongoing improvement. This is something which everybody needs to, inculcate in their thought process. They need to, have this. And I'm sure all of you who are here today are here because of this mindset only. You may have so many of your colleagues who may not have enrolled for these programs, right? Because they may not have we call it as a growth mindset, right? So growth mindset is really important for for embracing a, ongoing improvement kind of a mindset. And the people who have growth mindset are the ones who succeed better compared to all others, right? So I'm sure what you are learning as part of this 5-day, 6-day journey in this program, and when you put this to use, you'll find a lot better way of doing things compared to what your peers who are not part of this program will be able to, do things. So coming back to the point of restless reinvention is a principle which represents active continuous testing and learning, right? You remember the feedback mechanism we talked about in order to improve the solution to a problem, right? So this is really improvement, right? So your work is actually never done. You keep thinking about how you can make it more better, right? And whatever is currently available, all of that is nothing but a prototype. So that's not a final solution. That's just a prototype. And since it's a prototype, you need to keep that improving, keep improving that thing, right? And yeah, see, this is a journey, right? Right from, horse carts, bullock carts to EVs today, right? Self-driven vehicles today, right? We have basically come a long way. So it's really important, right? We basically, keep improving about what we are looking to do. Okay, so iteration, new ideas is something which is really important, right? So iterate is nothing but I'm sure you hear often that ideathons or, keep iterating. It's nothing but, a way to change something which is existing. We also call it disruption sometimes, right? How do you disrupt an existing idea? How do you, change the way business processes is being doing currently done? For example, COVID, you remember, right? It was a major disruptor, right? It has changed the way education is happening pre-COVID, post-COVID era. There has been a lot of changes, phenomenal changes which COVID made. For example, uh, long back, labs used to be the only place where you could actually conduct your experiments, right? And for that, doing that lab, one has to always come to a college, walk into the college premise, get into the lab, and then do it. Post COVID or during the phase of COVID, people were trying to understand how can I make this lab, something which is available on the cloud so that anybody and everybody can do from anywhere. Because at that point in time, we were not sure when the colleges will again open, but then that learning needed to be continued, right? But since all the software, all the apparatuses were there within the physical limits of the lab, educational institutions were looking how we can, bring them on the cloud, how we can create a simulations of those systems which are available in it really, really changed the learning big time. A lot of people, those licenses which are there on the resident machines, on the local machines, on the labs, they actually pulled all those licenses and brought it on the cloud, right? So that any student from any remote location can actually log into the college VPN or the college network and access that license which is available, right? So that was not the case pre-COVID, right? We never even thought about it. So that's what is all about iteration, right? Trying to do things so that we improve something upon, we basically improve something, right? That's what was the objective about it, right? Okay. Yeah. So we often say quantity over quality, right? But then it's again important that when we get people to brainstorm around ourselves. See, multiple brains thinking about a same problem than only one or two people thinking will obviously get you a more better outcome because there are multiple people thinking about the same issue, right? So that way it's always so ideas anybody can have, right? And there are no bad ideas, by the way, right? It's just that some ideas are better than others. So I keep saying this to, whenever I'm having a talk with the students, there are no bad questions. A question is always a good question. It is just that another question can be a better question than the previous button, but the questions are never bad. So it's similarly, an idea is never a bad idea. It's just about, which idea is better or, maybe not that better compared to the other one, right? So when you do this ideation, right? That's what is all about, having this ideas brought in, assessing them on the basis of which is better one, right? And then basically, taking it to the next level. So ideating is nothing but the practice of coming up with this new ideas. This is important. This really is an exercise for your minds, your brains. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So that's how you basically break the shackles of a certain thought process, right? Okay, so there is this basically, so there's this, person on the desk, right, who basically manages angry passengers, right, and that too in a loud and a busy environment. So I'm sure, anybody can actually get frustrated in such a scenario, right? And and at the same time, how do you basically develop an empathy for such a person that she's trying to handle all the people with calm, with a smile on her face, right? So you really need to understand, the other person while you are trying to create a solution, and then practicing that ideation, right? Okay. So you can always do this. These are all exercises. You can always come back and, finish this. Um, hmm. Okay. So let me skim through this, right? And this is what is typically is the idea curve in case you are, you know, initially any idea may seem to be boring, it may seem to be irrelevant for that matter, right? And then when you basically try to analyze more, right? Um, the more you try to identify, the more you try to brainstorm that, the more you are making or shifting that absurd idea towards a brilliant idea. Why? Because you are reinventing that. So something which was absurd actually becomes a brilliant thing as you move towards, making it better, right? So it's never, that's why we say, right? Somebody yesterday was talking about creating a prompts library, right? So your first prompt may not give you the desired outcome, but as you fine tune the prompt, as based upon the outcome that you're seeing from the prompt, as you fine tune it, you will be able to you'll be leading towards a better fine tuned prompt, which will give you the appropriate outcome that you are looking to do. But then that's a journey. That's a journey from an absurd to a great prompt, right? So that's how you do, that's how you iterate, that's how you ideate, right? Okay. So let's basically, move to the next part of it, right? See, any idea can fail and failures are typically viewed negatively, but then, ideally it should be seen as, I'm not sure, but if you know about this fact that startups always are, people say fail fast, fail quick, right? Because they are the ones who are very agile. They are somebody who are able to pivot quickly, right? So the sooner you fail, the sooner you get to know that you are actually pursuing something which may not be the right thing. So it's better to leave that, or maybe, improve upon the idea that you were working, right? So failures are actually a great thing because they save you from the potential effort that you would have kept on piling in without getting a outcome from it, right? So it's to fail is obviously great because you know that this is not working. So what you do is you basically move from that idea or you improve upon that idea and start working on the improved one, right? If you wouldn't have failed, you would have not known, and you would have kept putting your effort into it again and again and again and again, wasting your effort, time, wasting, on the journey, it will be a precious waste of the entire piece, right? And that's why you have this hypothesis whenever you basically come and you prove something, right? There is a hypothesis. So based upon that hypothesis, if you need to disapprove or have to update, right? So that's why you test and you disapprove and you test again, and if need be, you again disapprove. And these are these series of failures which actually lead you towards the desired outcome that you are looking to do. So as I said, right, failure is actually an opportunity, in a way for us, right? So maybe there is an exercise to do, but then we'll not do it today. You can do it on your own, right? Think about your own life, right? You don't have to tell anybody about it. You don't have to talk to anybody about it, but then write that experience, right? And then write what things did not turn out the way you wanted to, right? And then you basically can write, how did that particular failure affect you, right? What were your learning outcomes from that, right? If you have to avoid the same failure in future, what will you do differently, right? So again, see this, how to fail fast and fail cheap, right? So this is really important. So failures are actually great to have. That's what I keep telling everybody, right? Okay, so let's move further with this, right? And see, idea is all about getting that correct user experience that we want to curate, that we want to provide, right? Okay, let's move further with this. So we were basically talking about this restless reinvention, right? Right, looking to get this correct. What do you want to do? So there's again a quiz, right? To this, each time you have this, you basically will get a quiz with each module, right? You can always do a quiz later on as well. You can do it now as well, right? Okay, so let's quickly try to do it. As I said, there are multiple times you can keep doing it, right? So it's asking what's the purpose of ideation, right? Okay, and to basically ideation is all about creating creative solution to a user problem, right? um, and let's maybe submit and see this, right? Yeah, this looks to be a correct answer. Let's see the next one. What does frequent ideation or iteration enable the team to do, right? Okay, yeah, it basically makes it easier, faster and cheaper for the team to adopt to their users evolving experiences, right? Yeah, this looks better, right? So we can always, yeah. So restless reinvention, right? We have been talking about this for last maybe 15 minutes. So teams continuously test and learn to improve their solution, right? And that's basically is all about restless reinvention, isn't it? Yeah, it's actually correct. Let's move to the next one. So somebody says, let's apply restless reinvention to the project, right? Which of the following responses best reflect the understanding of what this team members means? Let's identify way to improve, even though the project is already in progress. Let's start from the beginning and rebuild everything. Let's revisit the project only if user report major issues. Let's freeze and design so that we can. So let's identify the ways, we can improve about wherever we are, right? That's actually the right way to think. So we know what's the purpose of prototype, right? If it had been in a physical environment, I would have just asked you for an answer, but then since we are doing it remotely, so, so let's basically try to see. Okay, so it basically is test and improve ideas before the final decisions are made, right? So very easy. Okay. Yeah, we can always go ahead and we can, take it multiple times. That's not a problem. Okay, let's go further because this is again very important point. Diverse empowered teams is one of the core principles of enterprise design thinking, right? Why? Because you need people with varied perspective, because everybody sees the problem from different angles and maybe I cannot see from all the possible angles. So I need to get those views incorporated into my problem statement before I start to work on that. Because if I just see what I am able to perceive, then I may not be able to create the optimum solution. And that's the reason why we talk about bringing diverse, empowered teams to the desk when we are actually doing a design thinking process, right? So if you see here, you'll see people from different walks of life, right? Somebody may be a user, somebody may be, from a shop floor. So these typical perspectives, right? They basically elevate the quality of the teamwork, which is very, very important, right? That's why we talk about cross-department research these days, cross interdisciplinary research these days, right? Because you need to bring in those components which you are not aware of, or maybe you cannot be, or you may not be a better person to see it that way, but the other person will be able to give you that view from a different side. And it's always better to get that view included before you start to work, right? So, we do this ice breaking typically, when we meet multiple people, new people come together in a room, right? We say break the silos. So it's typically collaboration, right? Unless you break the silos, right, you may not be able to collaborate effectively, right? So collaboration is typically, right, people working collectively towards a shared goal with an open mind, to the ideas of others. So this is important. I can always keep on thinking that whatever I'm thinking is the best, but honestly, that may not be the best. There may be other people in the room which can actually make my idea best. When they share their ideas and I fine tune my idea, maybe my idea can then be best, but then I need to, have an open mind to hear their ideas and incorporate their thoughts as well, right? So that's why we say solving problem is actually a team sport. It's never an individual thing, right? And enterprise design thinking is always all about collaborating, right? The multiplied to get a multiplied effect of the teams, right? I keep on saying diverse teams. Why? Because as I was giving an example yesterday, right? A team in the accounts may have a different perspective to a particular problem, whereas a team in the examination section may see this problem in a different way. But important is we leverage each other's knowledge, each other's ideas, and then bring the best of the things together, so that we are able to make a more efficient operational uh, outcome of that entire thought process, right? So that's why the diverse teams basically represent a group of people with varied perspectives and can help make decisions together to work for a shared goal. Okay. Um, yeah, this is all about, right, how multiple people can actually contribute to the various ideas. Normally when we are in a physical setup, guys, we try to identify and take everybody's view about a certain problem statement, how you would solve it, what's your take on this, right? And based upon those, we basically collate together and then get the best out of it, right? Okay. There are a couple of videos in this course. You can always see that at your own pace, at your own time, whenever you feel like. Okay. But it's really important that the team members are able to freely brainstorm again without passing judgment. Many a time when we are collaborating, when we are discussing, this becomes, before somebody starts talking, we start thinking of our own. The moment we stop listening, so what will happen is our mind is making our own ideas. It's cooking our own story. When that is happening, our ears stop listening. So it is always good to be a better listener than a better speaker, because when you listen better, obviously when you will speak better. It's a fundamental thing, right? So so it's really, and then there is always a saying, right? If there is always a wheel there, why do you need to reinvent the wheel, right? So we can build on each other's ideas. If somebody has a better idea than mine, I can always borrow that idea and maybe upgrade my idea, so that I am basically moving forward, right? And every team has their own strengths, right? They come from diverse cultures, different background, right? How do you actually promote that open discussion, disagreement, and collaboration? These are all part of that. I'm not sure if you have heard that thing about how does that team building, how the team building happens. Is anybody in this group familiar with how do you do team building? Can you just put it on chat? How do you build teams? What are the phases of building a team? Anybody? Can you just put it on the chat? There are 4 stages of building a team. I'm sure, even when you have siblings and all, typically these are the four stages, right? Forming, storming, norming, and performing, right? So when you form a team, that's the first phase. You form a team. You basically, bring people from different walks of life, bring them together in a room, and then you say, okay, this is your team, right? These are your team members. Now, when you do that, each one comes with their own personality, right? Each one comes with their own strengths, weaknesses, all of that, right? So that's where the next phase starts, wherein you have these conflict of interest. You would have these disagreements within the team. That's what is storming all about, right? And then that's a third phase, which is wherein you gradually try to get to understand people, right? And basically appreciate their point of view as you think better about it, right? And then there's the last phase, which is all about performing. So a team never starts to perform from the first day, guys, right? You need to give a runway to the team, which is basically having multiple phases, right? From forming, storming, norming, and then performing, right? So as you can see over here as well, right? This conversation that we were doing, right? Typically, how do you make this team more effective, connected, and responsive? This will happen when you actually give the team the runway of these four stages that we were talking about, right? Okay. Somebody was talking about the quiz. I guess I just showed you how easy it is to basically, and we just discussed the quiz as well, right? Okay. So whenever you have a multidisciplinary team, guys, it may not always be the case that you are all aligned, right? Getting to alignment is the best thing to do because that's how the entire team moves with the same synergy. But design thinking actually helps us overcome those pitfalls of multidisciplinary teams as well, right? Because in order to, when you have to build strong ideas, it also increases the chance of misunderstanding and conflicts. So this is where, the alignment of the agreement is very important within a group. So I'm sure you would know that there is you say core objectives, right? Key outcomes, you define that. So that is nothing but identifying what each one in the team agrees to do as a common statement of work, right? And once that alignment of the statement of agreement happens, then the team can work towards achieving that objective, right? So it's really important, right? So that's why this exercise of doing this whiteboarding is really helpful in terms of, because teams, when they put these stickies, they basically brainstorm on various ideas, right? So of course there is argument there, right? But then once that is done, they basically come and align on certain core ideas. That's what is that MVP thing that I was talking to you about. So every department will say my component, let's say this is a very big project we are talking about. Every department has a requirement, which will be a part of the project. Now, when we'll do a design thinking workshop with each department will say, everybody together, by the way, right? So each will say my part of the soft solution is more critical, most important. But when you actually do a design thinking workshop, that's where all the departments are very much there. They are part of the process. They will then agree to what you identify as a MVP, a minimal viable product, because this is very important for all of them to come and agree to what we are looking to develop to showcase that this solution is possible, right? Okay. So yeah, this is basically all about what we are planning to do, how are we aligned, right? Evaluating, our things around it, right? Building a consensus around the team, right? The alignment that I was talking to you about, right? So conversation is important, right? And then you have to have everybody participated in it, right? It cannot be that it's only a few people actually participating or driving it, right? And each meeting has to come out with some kind of outcomes, right? So meetings are typically a powerful moment for team alignment, right? And these can actually become an opportunity for collaborations as well, right? Okay. I'll take a pause here, guys. Any questions about what we are discussing so far? You can put it on chat. Any questions, any queries about what we are talking about so far? Okay, I'm still waiting. Any questions on the chat, guys? If you have, what we're talking about. You are facing a challenge in navigating through the course, anything that you are facing, please feel free to put it on chat. I'll be happy to answer those. Okay, nothing so far. We'll again take a dipstick in a while. Okay, let's go further, right? Okay. Yeah, so playbacks is very important. Playbacks is nothing but kind of a storytelling, right, to the stakeholder, right? They are story-based presentations that bring stakeholders and the whole team together to exchange feedbacks. This is important, right? To exchange feedback. This is not about what we are planning to do. Playback is all about bringing everybody together and getting their feedback so that you can go into that relentless reinvention, right? The loop that we talked about in that enterprise design thinking phase, right? So if it is so important, that means the playbacks have to be part of my workflow, right? It has to be part of the project that I'm trying to do, right? Right. So when who are the users, who are the stakeholders, what experience are you trying to improve, right? So your story should cover all that. What is the current user? What are they currently experiencing? What are you trying to improve, and why are you trying to improve that? What's the benefit that the user will get out of the change that you are planning to do, right? What will be the role of users in order to be successful, right? How will your team help in making those needs complete those solution, right? And while you are doing that, is your in this process, what you will also be doing is your team really delivering a value to user? How will this come? Based upon the feedback that the user will give of your story, the storyline that you're telling, right? And then whatever is outcome of that discussion, is your still aligned on the same MVP, or is there a digression happening in terms of the goalpost getting moved? So that is all we really need to talk into those playbacks. We really need to define as outcomes from those playbacks, right? Now these playbacks can be of various kinds, right? You can have so let's try to do this, right? um, for this airlines story, we can always try to define what are the current problems, what is the idea that we are looking to solve, how this idea will actually improve the passenger's experience in terms of that. And once we have done that, we can actually, look for more ideas, more thoughts to include into the playback, right? Okay. See this? The hero of this entire story is basically the user, a frequent flyer, who basically relies on on-time departure and arrival for actually his meetings, right? What's the problem? The problem is that, that frequent flight delays, which leads to his missed connecting flights or added cost, or of course the stress, right? And then idea which is looking to help this problem to improve overall, right? So that the passenger gets a real-time update, and maybe he can reschedule if he wants to, right? And how this can really improve the experience, right, of a predictable, like, either make our experience more predictable rather than giving in order to give the traveler more control, right? So that's what we are trying to achieve out of it, right? And yeah, so this is all about those diverse teams that I was talking to you about, right? So again, there's a quiz towards this module as well. So we'll try to just cover this. So what do teams do in the playbacks, right? To share progress with the.
In a chat box. Sir, there is a
Okay, I'll
question
just.
in a chat box.
Okay, let me have a question there. Um, okay, what features of members we need to consider for making a team of different kind of people? Okay, very great. So it's not about identifying features of people. You need to bring people who are anyways and everyways associated to the solution that you're trying to make for. They can be people who are directly associated with the program or the solution, or maybe the people who are indirectly getting impacted because of this, right? So as I said, it has to be a diverse group of people, and the more the better. The more the better. The more diverse the set of people will be, the more better inputs you will receive from all different angles, which your team may not have been able to explore. And hence it's really important that so I have done a few design thinking workshops, guys, with the actual clients, and we look to bring in everybody on the table. What everybody means is, who are the users, who are going to be, people. So let's say if this is a solution for development, right? So right from the the analyst, right, to the testers, to the coders, to the end user. Within the end user team, even the people who are going to maintain it at the end user side, the admin part of it, right? The people who are going to use the interface of it, right? And most importantly, the sponsored user, the executive peer person on both the sides of the table. We need to bring all of them together so that you can get an inclusive, feedback about what pain points they have, and the suggestions that they basically bring in. From those suggestions, you can curate a outcome which will solve their problems, right? So it's really important to have all kinds of members. So there is no feature as such, but then the more diverse, the more better. They can be people who are directly having a stake, or maybe people who can get impacted in later course with that solution, right? So all kind of people are needed to bring to the table for having this thing there. Okay, hope that
Excuse me,
answers.
sir.
Yeah,
Excuse me, sir.
please
So
go ahead.
that means you are saying all stakeholders needs to be involved.
Okay, I can answer your question directly, but let me put it in a different perspective. So I often go to these board of studies and academic councils these days, and I see earlier 15, 20 years back, there used to be no student representation, right? I'm sure as a teacher, you would know currently in the board of studies, you have nomination from existing students and even the ones who are passed out, who are already there, in the industry doing something, right? So yeah, so that's why all kind of people, have to be a part of that thing, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah, all stakeholder needs to be part of our team.
Yeah, not just exactly the stakeholders, but even those who are not directly associated but can be impacted should also be a part of the team.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, team. Any other question? Okay. Okay. So we know that, right? We basically share progress with the stakeholders to tell them, where we are about it, right? Okay. Let's move to the next question. Which statements characterize a diverse, empowered team, right? Okay. A team that relies on a strong leadership to review and approve. Okay, a team that has clear roles and shared authority to make decisions. Okay. Or what else? A team where members bring their different backgrounds, cultures. Of course, we need that. A team that prioritizes harmony by avoiding disagreements. No, we are not looking in that. So basically a team that, with clear roles and shared authority to make decisions, uh, you know, so one of these two should be the right approach, right? Should be the right outcome, right? That's the correct answer. Okay, let's go further, right? So you're managing a talented team with variety of backgrounds. You notice some people frequently contribute ideas while others remain silent, right, when prompted. What is an effective way to support a more balanced and empowered team, right? So you can actually have an anonymous idea sharing. Okay. You can rotate who can lead the discussion to give people a chance to take ownership over time. Okay. Have vocal team members lead so quieter can come. Okay. Of course, this is not the case. Follow the agenda and send an email later for questions from quieter co-workers. Now, out of these four areas, right, four topics, this can be one, but then you don't want this, right? You basically, you can rotate, and this can be wrong as well. See, this is what I was saying, right? There can be some other way to basically do this, right? Picking up a different kind of approach. So there may be something that you may think is correct, but then that may not be the right approach as well. Why is it important to have a diverse, empowered team? Because, more innovative solutions, of course, they basically, can get you more better solutions, right? Okay, playback. A team member shares a story about how a user struggled to complete a task with the current product. The story includes direct quotes and details that illustrates the user's frustration. why is this approach essential? Okay. Or whether it is okay. Um, it basically helps into that, helps the team and the connect stakeholders to connect to the user's experience, right? Yeah, you need to understand the empathy. You need to understand what the user is actually having, right? And then you can, go do that. So once you've done this, you can always go move to the next topic. Okay. So we'll basically talk about, right? Yeah, this is really key. I really always appreciate this. When you actually define a problem very nicely, the problem is always half solved because you know what is actually that you're looking to solve. And if you remember, we used to have this iterative model in order to, the prototype based model where you actually don't have the problem statement and you try to identify the problem statement based upon doing a continuous prototyping with the user, right? So it's really important that, you have a correct, you know, problem statement so that you can work in a meaningful manner. And now that we have actually crafted a user-centered problem after all those 5 whys, in case we have done that, right? You remember that hills we were talking about? So this is where we basically will write a problem statement. How do you write that problem statement, which is inclusive in nature? So if you remember, we basically were saying those 5 Ws, right? Why, how, and all of that, we were trying to do that, right? That basically forms the prompt for us to do that. Now you can always keep doing it, I'll just quickly skip a few things because this is something you can always go back and have a look at it on your own. I'll try to basically cover a major portion here, which is really important, right? Okay. By the way, this is what we were talking about. Once you complete this, this is the badge that you will be able to achieve, right? Um, and if you see here on this side, whatever components of the course I would have covered, I would have traversed, all of them would have a tick mark against it. That means I've basically covered those content. So when you are doing it, please ensure that you are going through the entire course, covering every topic. The moment you're able to do that, you would be able to see all those, topics getting covered, right? There is actually a study also available. What's the total impact on economic, economy based upon what you want to achieve through design thinking, right? Then there is a final quiz, which again, you can always do this. Once you are able to do this, guys, you basically will get a Credly badge. To claim the badge, you have to go to Credly after signing up on Credly. It's simply credly.com. And you will basically get a badge and you have to accept the badge. Okay. See, for example, this badge that I had completed this morning, it'll come and show it to me here. Let me show it to you. But you need to sign into the Credly account to accept that badge. Unless you do the acceptance, this badge will not actually reflect for you. And once you have that badge, I'll just show it to you how it actually looks like. See, this is the badge that, this morning I basically received for something, right? Similarly, when you complete this course and you sign into Credly, this is what you will get. Once you basically get this, you can always go on and you can share this badge on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, whatever you want to do. You can download this badge as well. Okay. And you can download it according to the size where you want to use it, right? And not just that, you can also download your certificate, a printable copy of your certificate for this, right? And which you can make use of. This is an auto-generated certificate, which you can, use. See, it basically gives. So this is a code which anybody can scan and see the genuinity of your certificate as well, by the way, right? And if you have a website of your own, you can actually embed the code to reflect this certificate there, this badge there. You can even have a complete your profile visible to others, right? You can actually create a link, a URL from here. See this URL? You can copy this URL and you can put it in your resumes for people to show your badges in case you're not using the badges directly on your resumes, but you can always do that, right? So for example, this is my badge wallet, right? People can see these badges that I would have accumulated over the years in different learning different technologies, right? Um, which is a mix of multiple years that I've been doing things, right? So I'll stop here, guys. And any questions that you'll have, I'll be more than happy to answer. I hope some of you who are doing the course may have actually come to the end of the course along with this. Anybody who has been able to come towards the end of it? If not, then you can always do a few quizzes. If you're missing on the quizzes, you can always complete the quiz later and you can complete it. Okay, can be a pessimistic member. See, anybody can be a member of the team, right? And the idea is to make the team more inclusive, right? And uh, whether optimistic or pessimistic, right? You need to bring everybody together. You need to bring everybody on board. That is all about the team building. That's why I shared that theory, though it was not part of this discussion about forming, storming, norming, and then performing, right? So you need to bring all kinds of people together, even the people who are not very supportive, collaborative, maybe people who are always looking to pull down the things. You need to bring everybody on board, because end of the day, you have to progress as a team, right? Even if one person is good enough to pull down the entire objective or what the team is working towards. Okay, any questions for me, guys? Okay, link of the course again. Let me share that with you. Okay, hold on. I'll just have to look for it. Give me a second, guys. Any other question in the meanwhile, team? Okay, yeah, somebody's already shared the link from yesterday's. Great, thank you. You can use that. You can use this link to sign up. Any link would actually lead you to that. And by the way, there are a lot of other resources as well which you can leverage on that portal. So I'll leave that to you. Suyash sir, any questions for me?
Thank you, sir. Thank you for this elaborated lecture. Or I hope the participants will be able to join this course using this link, and they will be doing many more courses from IBM Skill Build platform.
Sure, sure. I'll be happy to see, in case you would like to tag me along when you post it on LinkedIn, feel free to do that. I'll be happy to support. For people who haven't started to obtain any badges yet, this will be really, really very good as a beginning for you guys. And this is the way forward. You need to improve or strengthen your profile, your academic profile with these badges as well.
Right, sir. Right.
So,
All the participants are encouraged to complete these courses. They are completely free, and you can earn badges. You can add them in your resume, in your profile.
okay. Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me. It was great having this conversation with you, and I really wish you good luck with your learning of design thinking. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Now I invite the session coordinator of this session to present the formal vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir, for providing us productive insights and for sharing your expertise on the given topic. Your efforts help us learn and grow. On the behalf of the committee, one second. On the behalf of the organizing committee, we extend our warm regards and heartfelt thank you to your expert lecture and your valuable time.
Sure. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you once again. Sonali, you can stop recording and then start the recording again. Then we will welcome the next resource person.
Okay, sir.